Hey guys, it's Shadia and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make DIY scrunchies. This video is inspired by Melanie Locke. I think that's what her name is or how you pronounce it. I'm going to link her channel down below. I learned how to make these from her video, so full credit goes to her. So the way I'm going to show you guys how to make scrunchies, it requires either a sewing machine or you have to sew them by hand, which is what I do. So if you're not into sewing, just click out of this video because you're really going to need to sew. I actually taught myself how to sew just to make scrunchies because before that I honestly did not know anything about sewing anything together. These scrunchies are pretty simple and fun to make, so if you're not old enough to get a job and you like making scrunchies, I think a good way to like make some money is to sell them at your school. I've been filming for 12 minutes and I've got nothing done, so like let's just get into this video, you know? Let's just get this bread. So for this tutorial, of course, you're going to need some fabric. I recommend going to Hobby Lobby just because they have a lot of fabric just for cheap. And a lot of it is on sale all the time. That's where I got all of these except for this one. So the rest of the materials you need are scissors, of course, to cut your fabric. Some thread, I got mine from Michael's for like $1, I don't really know the difference between types of threads though. A needle, this came in a set which was really cheap. A hair tie, which obviously you need to make it a scrunchie, I don't know. A hair tie. A ruler if you want to measure it out. You can also just like freehand it. And a pencil if you want to mark on your fabric. So when I go, I usually ask for 1/4 or 1/8 of a yard because that's usually like the right size I need for everything. And when I get my fabric, I cut off the ends if there's any bad ends. And I take it, which obviously it's too long for this table, but that's okay. It should be around like 20 something inches. Let's just measure this real quick and see what it is. So like 22 inches. Of course you can get it shorter than that, but then it won't be like as scrunchy. For the width, I recommend 3.5 inches. That's what's worked best for me. So for this fabric, I'm just going to cut it in half. So I'm going to fold it in half long ways and then fold it in half long ways again. And then one more time, making sure that all of the edges line up nicely, like the top and bottom edges. Then I'm going to fold that in half. And then I'm going to take my scissors and just put it in the fold and then cut it in half. That way when you're done, you have 2 long strips that are about 3.5 inches wide. This might be a little bit longer than that. So then you're going to want to take your thread and measure out the length of your fabric. So I'm just gonna badly do this because my table is not big enough. And so this is the length of my fabric, and then I'm gonna double it on top of itself, so it's double this length. So now my thread, which you can't see, is double the length of my fabric, plus probably like 1 inch or 2 more. So you're just gonna put the thread in the little loop, which might take me a couple tries because I can't really see it that well. And then line up the edges. And then you're gonna make a knot. So this is what all the extra fabric is for. I'm not good at making knots, so I just pull it so it's like pretty long. I would say this is about a little over 1 inch. And then I make a loop and then just push the fabric through the loop, or push the thread through the loop, sorry. And it just ties it off. You wanna do 2 or 3 knots on like the same spot, which obviously I messed up. 3 is probably best, that's what I usually do. And so now I have like a big knot, which you can't see, but there's a big knot right there. So next thing you're gonna do is flip your fabric so the bad side is down, like you want good side up. And you're going to take your hair tie and place it on one corner of the fabric. And you're just gonna fold the fabric around the hair tie so that the hair tie is just like weirdly in the fabric, and then the bad side is facing you. And now for the most time consuming part is sewing it. I just push my needle through at the corner and then pull that all the way through. And then I start doing just like a simple stitch. I don't really know what his name is. Again, I don't know how to freaking sew. But I keep the edges lined up and then I just go through one end and then I fold it back over and go to the other end, and then I just keep scrunching it back and forth. I don't know, I feel like this is pretty simple. Like if anyone tried to sew, this is like the first thing that they would do. And I just keep going back and forth and weaving it. And then I push my needle through all of the little weaves I just made, and then I pull it through, which sometimes it gets tangled when I do it like this, as you can see. So then I just go slow, or I just fix it. As you guys can see, the hair tie is in between the fabric, so like it can't come out of the fabric unless you unsew all of it. When you're sewing your fabric together, you want your stitches to be pretty close together, as close as you can get them, and you want to leave a good amount of space from your stitch to the top of the fabric, just so when you turn it inside out, it doesn't rip through the fabric. If you get it too close to the edge, it might rip it, and if you get it too far down, it'll be hard to turn it inside out. So when you're at the end of your scrunchie, as you can see, it looks like a scrunchie. You want to make sure that you pull all of your edges flat. So I start with the side that's already like sewed shut, I guess. I don't really know. The side that already has the knot in it. And I just like pull at where the stitches are to make sure that I pull it as flat as it can get. As you can see right here, it's starting to bunch up. So this just flattens it out. And I just keep pulling until I get all the way around. And most of your thread should be used up now, and you should have a flat edge everywhere. It should be super, super straight. This is super important because if you guys don't straighten it out, it will not scrunch. Then when you're at the end, you should have just like a little bit left to sew. And usually what I do is I get not all the way to the end of the fabric. I do pretty close though. So I'll go to about here. Okay, you literally cannot see that. I'll show you when I'm done. So I get as close as I can, about the same amount of space in the corner as when I started it, and I just pull my thread through. And I don't know how to tie a knot with the needle still on, so once I put it where I want at the end, I just take my scissors and snip it at the very top as close to the needle as I can get, and then I just tie like 6 knots just to make sure that it stays in place. And then whatever thread I have left over, I just snip it off as close to the knot as I can get. And the same with the beginning, I just snip off as close to the knot as I can get, leaving a little bit so it doesn't untie itself. The next thing I do is cut all these like strangly pieces off, which they're really not that important, but if I see like super long ones like this one, I'll just snip them. It doesn't have to be perfect, I just go around and like attempt to cut them off. My scissors really suck. I do not own fabric scissors. Yeah, I just cut all the long ones off. Now that you have your inside out scrunchie, the two ends shouldn't be connected. You're gonna turn it inside out. So to do that, you just find whatever end you want. I used the first knot end, like the first side that I sewed, just because the knot's stronger. And you're going to flip it so that the good side is facing you, and you're going to push the bad side under. I don't know if that makes any sense. You're just going to turn it inside out. So you're going to push all of the bad inside of the good side, and then you're going to pull it out so that you pull all of the fabric through the little hole that you have. So as you can see, it's already starting to turn inside out. So I've turned it all the way inside out, and now I have the end of one side and the end of the other side. Then what you just do is you fold in the seams so that instead of it looking like this with the rough edge, it looks like this, so it's like flat around, you can't really see it. And I just do that on both of the sides. So your edges should look flat like this, and then you can kind of see like the line as where it was sewed at. You want to line those two ends up together, so you might have to like fix your flat lines. So now the two ends that were sewed are toward each other. Then you put one end into the other one so that you can sew the two pieces together. And then you're going to want to just sew these two ends together. You can always do it flat and have this part not be hollow like the rest, or you can sew through the first two layers and it'll still be hollow all the way around. I don't know if that made any sense, but to sew the two ends together, usually I just estimate how much I need. It's about like this much. So you just put your needle through here, then you tie it off just like you did with the other thread. Then you just sew the end together. I start at the top where the two seams are and just make my way through all of the fabric, doing the same stitch as I do before. Once you're done sewing all the way around, you want to just cut your string. I obviously have way too much string, so probably 18 inches is way too much. And you're just gonna tie it off as many times as you need. Again, I do like around 6, maybe more towards like 5 or 4 with the outside part, just because I don't want huge knots showing up. So then when you're done tying it, you just cut off the edges and you're all done with your scrunchie. I do a scrunchie check just to make sure it's scrunchy and it twists to be able to use as a hair tie. And I take off any of these little like pieces that fall off. Make sure nothing's sticking out. I just check to make sure that it looks okay. I hope this video was useful, and if it wasn't, go check out Melanie's video because I think it probably was a lot better than mine. I don't know, I haven't filmed mine yet. So yeah, I'll have it linked down below along with her YouTube channel. Anyways, that's all for this video. If you guys liked it, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below and turn on post notifications to get notified for every time that I upload a new video, which really isn't that often, so like don't really worry about it that much. And yeah, I'll see you guys in next week's video, which won't be next week. It'll probably be in a very long time. I don't know why I said next week. Bye!